I never thought letting someone stay with me could end up being the biggest mistake of my life. It started 6 months ago, on a rainy Thursday night when my cousin Lily called me crying. I got kicked out. I have nowhere to go. I didn't even hesitate. She was family. She sounded scared. And I've always been the kind of person who can't ignore someone in pain. So I told her, come stay with me. Don't worry about rent. Just focus on getting back on your feet. She showed up an hour later, drenched in rain, clutching 2 bags and a box of her things. I hugged her, made her tea, gave her my extra bedroom, and told myself I was doing the right thing. For the first 2 weeks, everything seemed normal, almost peaceful. She helped clean, cooked sometimes, and even joked around with me after work. But slowly, little things started to feel off. She began asking a lot of questions about my job, which clients I worked with, which projects I was leading, how much I earned, what my boss was like. At first, I thought it was normal curiosity. After all, she said she wanted to work in my field someday. But then she started waking up early, earlier than me, doing full makeup, dressing like she was going somewhere important, and leaving for hours without telling me where. When I asked, she would brush it off with, just interviews, just looking around. I didn't think much of it. I wanted her to succeed. I wanted her to get her life together. But then, one thing happened that I couldn't ignore. I came home early from work one day and heard her in the living room laughing on a video call. I wasn't trying to listen, but when I heard my workplace's name, my body froze. Yeah, I know the manager, she said confidently. I live with one of their top employees. She's basically training me without knowing it. I stepped closer, my heart pounding. Then I heard it, the sentence that made my stomach drop. Once they see my resume, they won't need her anymore. I stood there stunned, realizing something terrifying. My cousin, the girl I let stay for free, the girl I protected, fed, supported, was trying to take my job. And she thought I would never find out.
I didn't confront her right away. I wanted to understand what she was doing, how far this had gone. So, that night, I pretended everything was normal. We ate dinner. She talked about nothing important. She laughed like her conscience was clean. And I sat there, nodding, barely able to look her in the eyes. When she went to bed, I opened my laptop and logged into my work portal. An unread message was waiting for me from HR. My heart dropped before I even clicked it. Hi, we received a job application from a Lily Ann Gray, who listed you as your reference and mentor, and claimed she assisted you on several projects. Could you confirm? Assisted me? She had never even visited my workplace. My stomach twisted. She had used my name, my reputation, my work to try to get my position. And worse, she used me as her reference without my permission. I closed my laptop and sat there in silence, trying to steady my breathing. I remembered the night she showed up crying, begging for help. I remembered the way I opened my home, thinking I was giving someone a second chance. Little did I know she was using that time to study my routine, my schedule, my conversations, even my work habits. Every compliment she gave me, every question she asked, every helpful gesture, suddenly it all made sense. She wasn't admiring my success, she was mapping it. The next morning, she came out of the bathroom fully dressed, makeup flawless, wearing one of her new business outfits. Another interview? I asked calmly. She froze for a second, just long enough to confirm everything. Then she smiled. Yeah, wish me luck. I nodded slowly. Good luck. As she walked out, I stood at the window watching her get into the Uber, heading straight toward my corporate building. I knew then this wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't desperation. This was planned, deliberate, calculated. And I needed to decide whether to stop her or let her destroy herself.
The Uber drove off, and I finally exhaled, a long, heavy breath that felt like it carried months of frustration. If she wanted my job so badly, she was about to face the reality of it. I grabbed my keys, my phone, and headed out the door. Not to stop her, but to witness the truth unfold right in front of her. When I reached the office, I kept my distance, walking slowly toward the lobby. And there she was, sitting nervously on the black leather chairs, legs crossed, nails tapping, trying to look confident in a world she didn't belong to. My manager walked past me, whispering, "Is that the girl who used your name?" I nodded quietly. A few minutes later, he stepped out of the meeting room and called her name. She stood up, shoulders back, smile wide, but the moment she entered the room, her expression shifted. Because she saw me already sitting inside. She blinked, confused, panicked, her confidence cracking like glass. You're here?" I gave her a calm, cold nod. My manager placed her resume on the table. "We have a few questions about your application." She swallowed hard. "You said you assisted with 3 major company projects?" She nodded weakly. Yes, I did." Silence. Then my manager leaned forward, hands locked together. "Can you explain why none of these projects list you anywhere?" Her face flushed. Her breathing hitched. She looked at me, desperate, pleading, waiting for me to save her. But I just stared back with the same emptiness she once showed me the night she stole my work. "Maybe it's a mistake," she stuttered, voice breaking. My manager slid another document forward. "You also listed her," he pointed at me, "as your mentor and reference. But she notified us she's never worked with you professionally." She froze. Completely. Not a word, not an excuse, just silence swallowing her whole. My manager closed her file. "We cannot proceed with your application." She stood up slowly, eyes filled with humiliation, staring at the floor. And in a trembling whisper, she said, "I just wanted a life like yours." I exhaled softly. "Then you should have learned from me, not tried to replace me." She walked out of the room without looking back, and for the first time, I felt the weight of everything she had done finally lift off my shoulders. She rushed out of the building like the ground beneath her feet was burning. I followed slowly, not to confront her, not to chase her, just to understand what she would do next. Outside, she stood near the parking lot, hands shaking, mascara smudged, breathing shallow, like her entire world had collapsed in a single hour. When she finally noticed me, she looked away quickly. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered, voice trembling. I stepped closer, keeping my tone calm, gentle, but firm. "I didn't do anything. You did this to yourself." She swallowed hard, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "I was trying to prove that I'm not nothing." My chest tightened a little, because behind all the lies, the jealousy, the selfishness, There was something else, too. A deep loneliness she never talked about. "Do you even know," she said, voice cracking, "what it feels like to watch you succeed at everything while I can't even get a normal job?" I stayed quiet, letting her speak, letting her finally break. "Every time you told me about work, your projects, your meetings, I smiled. But inside, I felt like I was disappearing." She took a shaky breath. "So I pretended. I pretended to be confident, smart, capable. I pretended to be you." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Because being me felt useless." For a moment, I looked at her not as someone who tried to steal my job, not as a liar, not as a threat, but as a person drowning silently right in front of me. Still, what she had done couldn't be excused. I stayed quiet. "You could have talked to me," I said softly. "I would have helped you." Her eyes filled again, this time not with shame, but with regret. "I was scared," she whispered. "Scared you'd see how small I really am." She turned away slowly, hugging herself tightly, like she was holding together the last pieces of her pride. The wind blew hard, brushing her hair across her face, and she looked so fragile, like even one more word could break her completely. And then she said something I never expected. "I didn't just want your job." She looked at me, eyes tired, voice soft. "I wanted to be someone you could be proud of." The honesty in her voice hit deeper than anything before. But she wasn't done. "I know I hurt you, and I know I ruined everything today, but I never meant to lose you." A long, heavy silence filled the air, because this whole mess wasn't just about a job anymore. It was about us, our history, our friendship, and everything she never said until she had nothing left to hide. The silence after her confession stretched between us, heavy, fragile, trembling. I stepped closer, slowly, carefully, not to comfort her, not to accuse her, just to understand what remained between us. I said quietly, "You didn't lose me, but you did lose my trust." Those words hit her harder than anything else. Her shoulders fell, and she looked down, like she was finally realizing the real damage wasn't the job. It was the bond she'd broken. "I know," she whispered, "and I don't expect forgiveness." She wiped her tears again, slower this time, calmer, like she had accepted the truth she'd been running from. "I'm going to fix myself," she continued, "not to get your approval, but because I'm tired of pretending to be someone I'm not." For the first time that day, her voice wasn't defensive or jealous or desperate. It was honest. "I'll talk to the manager," she said, taking a shaky breath. "I'll tell them the truth about everything." That surprised me, not because she owed them the truth, but because she finally understood she owed it to herself.
I'm not asking you to fix this for me. Her voice softened. I just needed you to know I never wanted to become someone you'd be ashamed of. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not forgiveness, not anger, not pity, just clarity. You were never someone to be ashamed of, I replied, but you became someone who was hurting too much to think straight. She nodded slowly, accepting the truth without arguing this time. I'll get help, she said softly. Real help. And when I'm better, if you ever want to talk again. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. I gave her a small, calm nod. Not a promise, not a rejection. Just space. The kind of space needed when two people are standing at the edge of something that used to matter. She stepped back, breathing deeply, and for the first time since this whole thing began, she looked steady. Not healed, not forgiven, just beginning. Goodbye, she whispered. I watched her walk away, slowly, quietly, but with a strange new strength in her steps. And in that moment, I realized something too. Not every story ends with a reunion. Sometimes, the real ending is two people finally choosing the right road for themselves.